Hello and welcome to this episode of the MediaTech Podcast. My name is Matt and I'm here with Gibran Nasif. Did I get that right?
You got it, yes sir.
Gotcha. He is the new social media manager here at MediaTech. He's based in the Houston campus. There's also a campus in Dallas if you're interested. We'll get into that in a bit. But this podcast is going to be a little bit of background on Gibran. He has a really interesting background, a really cool career thus far. And then we're going to go into a really cool topic that he wanted to talk about, which is how to pick a single if you're an artist. So Gibran, how did you get into the business?
Yeah, I'll start off. I'm a drummer, so I first started performing drumming, and I just formed bands in high school, not like the marching band. I literally formed bands. We started playing shows at a young age. And then when I was 15, we opened for the Misfits.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so they were
15?
15 years old.
Gosh.
We had our MySpace page, sent it to the venue, and then we got approved to play for the Misfits, and that's really kind of expanded the idea of running a band, maybe managing a band, managing their MySpace page, and that kind of I just picked up interest diving into the music business side besides the performance. When that took off, I went to Austin for school. I went to ACC in Austin and did a music business degree. And then I got an opportunity to go on tour as a drummer with a hip hop artist called Zeely.
Wow, in college?
Yes,
That's
in college.
Cool.
So right after college, I did that. And it was a tour supporting Imagine Dragons and AWOL Nation. So really that kind of took off. It was like a 45-city tour. I literally lived that kind of rock star life.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Wow,
so yeah,
it was a while. Year.
It was a wild one. I learned a lot of stuff, but made a lot of connections, networked, and then that kind of dove me into the music business side after that.
Wow.
And that's when I worked for Universal Music Group. I did different campaigns for like Halsey, Ludacris. And then dove into working for a country music label in Austin and worked with Eli Young Band and Joe Nichols. Did a lot of tour marketing, and then now I'm diving into independent management. So I consult with artists and manage them independently, build campaigns for them. And I also I'd like to teach my music experience here at MediaTech now, and I do marketing here as well for them. So
awesome. How'd you get hooked up with MediaTech?
I've been in and out of Houston a lot, so I just applied to the music business teacher position first.
Cool.
And then taught here. I actually moved to Austin for 2 years and worked for two of those country artists, and then came back here. I just love teaching, sharing those experiences with the students, and that's why I knew Tracy. She's a great person, the president of MediaTech, and a lot of different teachers I knew as well. So I was like, let me come back, share more experiences with you guys. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Before we get into the picking a single, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my background as well that I haven't really shared on the podcast. I have a similar background. I was a drummer when I was a kid, and I got super into it, and I had started bands and things in high school. I never got the amazing opportunities that you got with touring and things like that. And I fell right into the video world and took that very seriously. The best show I ever played was I opened for Mondo Generator, which is the bassist for Queens of the Stone Age band. But so I had some experience coming into school with a little bit of music management and trying to grow the band to a small following in Dallas. But that was always the hardest part was picking a single and we were sort of alternative rock, like kind of Breaking Benjamin kind of feel. So especially with that, it was really tough to find something that would work as a single and work on our MySpace page that would help attract potential audience and things. So how do you start approaching that? And real quick, I do want to apologize. In the background, you might be hearing some sound or some bass or whatever. We're just down the hall from the live sound portion of MediaTech Houston, that facility. So, and they're doing some work in there right now. So please excuse that. But so how do you navigate when you I didn't even know. I'm a film guy, so I don't even know what questions to ask you, right? So how does that process begin?
Yeah, really, there's so many things. Really, the main thing you want to do as a producer, let's say if you want to release a single and you're working with an artist, or if you're an artist when releasing the single, you really want to do research. Look at top 40 Billboard charts, Spotify charts, Apple Music charts, and study what people are liking the most. That can be done in a production perspective, but that can overlap into how long the song should be. Right now, the commercial friendly song is about 3 minutes.
And how often does that fluctuate?
A lot, yeah, it fluctuates a lot. I mean, it really every few years you'll see that. But right now we're still a single dominant market because of streaming and things like that. People want to hear new singles, so which is now allowing artists to release music more often. That's going to be a bigger thing now versus 10 years ago. You had almost artists would take a little longer to produce albums or wait every 4 years. Now you have even, besides hip hop, you have rock bands that are releasing singles more often, or EPs. And not waiting as long, because we're in that era now that consumer wants new music all the time, right? So we're trying to adjust, and as producers and musicians, it's really kind of making top quality songs, of course, top audio, and that's going to really overlap in videos now. Lyric videos, consistent content on social media too, to share with your fans, and kind of building a campaign and a story behind your song. Because the main thing you want to do is have the lyrics, the good sound, but of course, relating to people, having lyrics relate to people, and that will help you determine that hit song or that commercial song you should first try to push and release.
That's interesting. I mean, what's cool about that is it's very timely, because I don't know if you've heard of the TV show called Songland before.
Yes.
Man, I love that show. And so, again, I'm purely from the film world. I'm completely dumb to that kind of thing. But what shocked me was the way that those producers talk to the artists is like, wow, you have a great hook, but then they're like, if you change it to like, you know, the key of A or whatever, and they have these very specific tools in their toolbox that they know will help, I don't know, generate an audience or help relate to people. Like, how granular does it get when you're trying to pick a single or even write a single? Yeah,
it's funny, because, you know, sometimes when you on the outside of the music world, like writing a song, wow, it's not that hard. No, it can actually be complex, because you really want to simplify things, and you're hearing a lot more hit songs. Especially in this era we're in, it's a lot of simple lyrics. Simple lyrics people can relate to, and it's all like in Songland. They always you'll have like Charlie Puth or all those different guys giving them advice. Hey, make this a little bit more simple. Blend this in with this instrumental part. So people want simplicity, and in a hit song, even going back to the 80s. Repetitive choruses, repetitive post-chorus would kind of drive that song to a potential hit song. So yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, like, you can get advice from so many different people. Look at Old Town Road, for instance. That was a guy, he bought the beat on BeatStars, and they did not expect any of that to happen, and it did.
That story is insane.
Yeah, it really is how that happened. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ingredients you can do to make a hit. There's no special formula, I could say that, but of course, getting creative, using out-of-the-box ideas, and trying to market that song in different ways will get you there.
That's cool. And there's a couple of, particularly in the pop or hip-hop world, there's a couple of artists that had recent albums that I, as just a casual listener, think are doing really well with songwriting and their singles. One of them that you mentioned was Halsey. She had dropped the single that was on her album that she had just released like a year and a half ago, it seemed like. Is that because they, like you said, they're writing and recording singles as they go? And then, like, do you think that at that point she had the idea that this is going to be my single on my album in 18 months? Or, like, how does that all fit into place from a business perspective?
Good question. Yeah, it depends on the label in that situation. With Halsey, for instance, she probably had just maybe decided with their label to release it, even though it was recorded in the past. But also at the same time, she's probably recording singles and releasing with features with different artists. So it really just depends on that label situation. But that can definitely happen.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Who do you think is doing it the best right now?
Best. On the hip hop world, I would say like DaBaby. He's definitely like a new rookie guy, but the way he releases music and his consistency, it's just consistently releasing music. It's just like, I love that thing right now. And on the producers, it's just on the producers aspect, it might be a little crazy, but it gives them more opportunity, right? And that way, and then just people are in that day of age where they just want new music constantly. And for the independent artists, I think it's important to always just release music because you'll never know what target or what audience I might reach to.
Mm-hmm. And so for like, let's say a student that is putting together an EP or an LP or whatever, and they are already thinking about that, like the single that they're going to have on that album. Do you suggest that they think about that from the inception of the song, like when they start writing it, or do you suggest that they put the whole album together and then evaluate?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it all depends on that project they're trying to do. Like, budgeting can get in the way with that. My opinion, or just my perspective, is really concentrating on singles, and maybe experimenting with the different kinds of singles, and then developing that into an EP or an album.
Gotcha.
That way, that producer, or maybe creating an album, a fully produced album, and then going into the psychological part, hey, which song can these people reach to the most? Let's pick and choose which ones we're going to release.
Gotcha.
And then going from there. So it's kind of those two different routes you can take, yeah.
How do you think that they do it, like when there's unlimited budgets, like with Taylor Swift or something? Like, do you think that they do write it from the ground up, like this is going to be a single, or like?
Yes, and in that situation, like with Taylor Swift or a bigger artist, they'll actually have a team of people. So she'll have a team of different composers, engineers, and songwriters, and it's almost like a big team effort. When I worked with Eli Young Band, a country artist in Austin, it's actually common to have like 5 or 6 songwriters in the studio.
Wow, even for country, that's crazy.
Country, yeah. You'll actually, it's more. People think country, they write. Oh no, there's some artists, and they're fine. They're fine with that. But it's also a big thing in country now too. Like that's a big trend right now for guys completely writing their own songs.
Interesting.
Because in country it's really common to have like 5 or 6 songwriters in the room.
How does that work in the room? Like,
I really don't. It's interesting how they do it, but it's really kind of exchanging ideas situation. Like usually the artist will write the main verses and things like that, and then maybe some hit songwriter from Brad Paisley, who's in the room, who will help on a verse or a chorus.
Wow, and I guess it's just super casual, like they're all just sitting around and doing it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. So how would you say, like if you had any advice to students that are, or just anybody that's trying to put together an EP or an LP and not sure where to start with their single, or even just from a marketing perspective, like say that they have no experience in that realm? Yeah,
sure. Really kind of analyzing your markets, studying that genre. So if it's a hip hop or rock, studying that genre, looking at the history. That's why here at MediaTech we have these music business courses to help you study hits, collecting data, the history of hits, how long hits have lasted, charts and things like that, commercial songs. But really it's going to be like that research part, analyzing it, really sharing that song with different people besides your friends and family. I'll give you that honest example. Or just I like to do that when I produce songs or work with artists. I like to share it with my uncle, someone that has just no idea with music. Just I want to hear that outside perspective, because those are the ones that are going to be listening to your music. They always say that stranger is your biggest fan, right? Not your like friends or family. But
that's really good advice. I never thought about that specifically.
It's definitely just sharing that with that outside, because they're the ones that are going to be that could become your fans. They're real fans that buy your music, go to your shows, support your podcast if you make one as an artist, or any those out of the box things you do. That fan will always be there, no matter how long and things like that. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in future podcasts, again, we're going to start doing call-ins as well, so that if we're in Dallas, we'll be able to hook up with the people down in Houston on podcasts. But and I'm sure we'll dive real deep into the music business in the future with you specifically. But is there anything else that you want to, any parting words for this topic?
Yeah, no, it's a great topic, and it's really about out of the box ideas. If you're releasing a single, creating ways to promote the single, connecting to that audience. That's the biggest thing that you really want to always keep consistent. And when you're releasing a song, working with a PR company, there's a lot of different ones. AMW is a small one that they can work with. There's budget, very affordable campaigns. You can start to get like medias and blog placements. But of course, on the production side, it's really about experimenting, making high quality sounds, and really keeping it short and simple when it comes to the length of a song. Just in this day of age, I listen to a lot of older, some Zeppelin records are like 8-9 minute songs, and I love that. But on a commercial aspect, you always have to remember the time length. And another big thing is really those first 10 to 15 seconds of that track should be that consumer should be caught into that. And that's when it goes into the producer side, where it's very important to make that catchy introduction or anything like that will appeal, that will draw in that audience. That's a big thing, but that's just some advice to start. It's really about marketing yourself, pushing yourself out there, and of course using all these digital tools and technology, like mobile applications like TikTok and all these new apps we can use to promote music.
Seems like every 3 months is another one that you got to start paying attention to.
For sure. So just keeping up to date with that stuff. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people that might be considering MediaTech?
Yeah, this is a great school. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity here. What's great about it is the hands-on. There's a lot of hands-on experience. From the instructors here. All of our instructors are from different backgrounds, like myself in the record industry. We have other instructors that have won Grammys here. There's a lot of diversity. We actually help you we'll help you form your own business, help you find careers in audio. There's not just music production audio. There's audio for gaming, anything, audio for film. Of course, in the film business, it's very similar, like forming your own film company or working for a film company, cameras, sporting events. So we really kind of leverage our students to and give them those opportunities. At the same time, we really teach them everything. I mean, I've been to schools with like the same kind of like paperwork and stuff, but not with these studios. Like we have these like great studios. I always tell our students, I repeat to every day, my students right now to utilize this school. Here is your new networking. Network with these people, because you'll see them down the road. It's a very small world. So
and the studios, the facilities here are insane. And by the time this podcast goes up, we're going to have a tour with Dr. Lewis. He's the campus director here that did a full walkthrough tour. So if you're interested, you'll get to see all of the different amazing facilities that they have here. We're in just one of them, and this is the smallest studio that they have here on campus. There's others, and man, it's awesome. Up in Dallas as well, there's a studio tour on the YouTube channel if you're interested in that. But thank you again, Gibran, so much.
Of course.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe wherever you're listening to it. And if you're not on YouTube, make sure you go jump over there and subscribe there. We do lots of great content. We do little mini docs about former graduates. They're doing really good things out in the field. We do stuff on students, a lot of different podcasts and things, looping instructors in. It's a really great place. And go like the Facebook pages, follow the Instagram. We're blowing it up, especially thanks to Gibran here. So thank you again, and we'll see you guys again next week with another podcast.